Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to our show. Who are you? This is your host, Dr. Leah. It is Thursday, and today our weathers are really warm for some reason, but fair enough. We've had some cool weathers, but a little bit warm is not a problem. Great to be with you. Great to see you. Great to hear you. Great to know that you're still there and you're still supporting us on this show. Who are you? Today we are traveling back to the States. We are going all the way to Texas, and we are having our guest. She is called Taylor Martins, but at the moment she is touring Europe, so she is in France. So again, we are Texas, France, Texas, France, and then we see where we'll be going to. So I will not take a lot of time to introduce who she is. She's a very powerful lady. She's gone through a journey, and a journey that I think will be an experience to a lot of people. It's good to always learn from people's experience, to hear people's stories, because this is why we do the show Who Are You? So that you can learn and you can see that people just like you and me are thriving even in the midst of other issues in their lives, whether it is COVID, whether it is their families, whether it is their personal issues, and how they are using it and turning it into positiveness and using it to impact the community. So I will not take a lot of time, and I will just bring Taylor up so that we can begin to hear from her. Hi, Taylor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
So excited.
Welcome to my show, Who Are You? And I'm glad that we could connect back again. How is France?
France is warm. France is really warm, and beautiful, and
Awesome.
and delicious, and wonderful. Wonderful.
So what is the best meal that you've already had in France?
The coquiage here is really good. They're like mussels and clams and oysters. I live on the in the Southwest in the Mediterranean Sea, and I love seafood. I was raised on seafood, but the seafood here is just like a totally different level. And it's so beautiful because it's not destroyed by any extra stuff. It's just like, it is what it is. And maybe it's the air, and maybe it's the sea, and maybe it's that I'm in a different place or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's delicious, and I'm ecstatic.
Super. I love the pun behind you.
Thank you. So this home isn't like really my home, and so I needed it to feel personal, particularly during the quarantine. And so I was in India before the quarantine, and I was drawing what I wanted the apartment to look like. And I had like these palm fronds and feathers, because feathers are very important to me spiritually. And I just walked around the beach, and I found the palm fronds, and I collected feathers, and then I made it, and it just like, it feels so good. It just, just to have like a nice little space that resonates, and it feels like very peaceful. And it's so silly because I just on the street. It doesn't have to be like $10 million. It can just be like some nature that I found that was already there.
Awesome. And that's the bad thing about life, when you are creative and you can just, what they call do it yourself decors, and you just take something that, you feel you resonate with it, and it brings an atmosphere into your space, and you feel comfortable, and you feel like, wow, this is me, this is my place. And I feel like you can breathe in and you feel comfortable. You feel that you welcomed yourself. And that's the best part of it. That is life, because after all, if you don't make that for you, nobody will make that for you. So it's awesome. It's awesome to have just natural things that you can just put in your house, and they just become part of you and make your house feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's funny that you said creative. Before, like in 2018, I was really attached to the idea that I wasn't creative at all. Like I thought I was a machine. I was good at managing. I was good at creating, and it's creating, but doing like guidebooks and like facilitating things, but I never thought of myself as creative. And over my journey over the last year, I realized that like the reason why I thought I wasn't as creative was because I thought it had to be, creativity is this thing. And creativity isn't this thing. Creativity is everything. And everybody's creative in their own way. We just have to really, what the the normal definition of it is, the conventional definition of it, and
Exactly.
let it just be what it is for us.
Exactly. Awesome. So Taylor, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell people, who is Taylor Martins?
Who am I? I am Taylor Martin. I have spent a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money being able to say that the person I am is Taylor, and the things that I am, the things that I do are not who I am, but I do a lot of things because like we're multifaceted humans and we can do multiple things. My labels, my professional labels are teacher and writer. As a teacher, that looks as yoga teaching, and also the definition is life coaching, which like I'm really hesitant to use the term life coach, but I like to think of myself more as a mentor and an advisor than a life coach. But it's the exact same thing. It just whatever the label is. And then I write about my sobriety, and I write about overcoming obstacles, and I write about relationships and boundaries, and like and it's all very from a personal lens, because I think that when I am able to externally process my experiences, it helps other people. And that's I cannot let any of my negative experiences in my life be a waste. And if I can use them to serve other people and help them to grow and to heal, then that's the point of them having happened in my life, is so that I can uplift and help them heal themselves.
Awesome. And I love the way you've put, the sentence that you cannot let your negative, part of life go to waste, because you use it to help other people, learn from it, heal from it, and that is the purpose of life, because, life is a journey, life is an experience. We all walked the same journey, but we kind of have the same experiences, only it is, in different levels, and it depends on where you're coming from, it depends on how you are taking it. And so I think it's important that people get to understand that when we hear people's stories, and that's why most of the people write books about their stories, their experience, how they came from point A to point Z. It's important for us to understand that it's not about just the person saying a story. It's not about the person speaking about themselves. It's the person trying to help somebody else who would otherwise never be able to meet or to hear or to know that, even in your situation, you can pull out successfully, you can thrive in that place, and you can move from point A to point C. That is so awesome. I really love how you've put that. So thank you so much, Hayat, from watching from Ethiopia. She's saying very true about your story. And so I hope that as people come in, they will let us know where they're coming from, where they're watching us from, and just engage into the conversation. So Taylor, please walk us through your journey, how you became a teacher, why you write, what do you write about, and how is it for you when you do these things?
I think it just it depends. Everyone's journey starts when they're little. Yes. And I have really been trying to dance with the right way but there's no right way, right? There's no right way you can talk about your childhood, because there are other people involved in your childhood. And the only thing you did as a child was interpret the information you received. And so the information I received, my parents loved me. And they still love me very much. But my parents they weren't in a good place individually. You can't have two half people don't make one whole person.
Exactly.
And so my house, I grew up in a lot of pandemonium. It was I have very vivid memories of knives throwing and punches being thrown and people being pushed down the stairs and me throwing up because I was crying so much. And it really, I felt like there was no control in anything. And the only time that I felt really at peace was when I got to go to the peaceful place, which I took apparently from Winnie the Pooh, but I went to the peaceful place and that was in the woods, and I got to just be with, and I just got to be with nature and out of the chaos. And it was so chaotic. And I took my lack of control and found a way to to have it by developing an eating disorder, which I thought actually was a brilliant invention of mine, which is like, you can eat food and then throw it up and then it never processes your body. And that turned out to be bulimia, that I was really dedicated to for 15 years.
Wow.
But the bulimia also was so that I could fit in, because I didn't look like the people that I felt like I was supposed to look like. My dad's family, they're all just like very tall, beautiful women. And I am not tall. I'm incredibly short. And I didn't look like them. And so I wanted to I just wanted to look like them. And so my thought of I am not enough, I don't exist, started very young. And I carried it through adulthood. I went to university and constantly comparing myself to other people. Why don't I look like you? Why don't I have the relationships you have? How do I make people love me? And to make people love me, I got really drunk, because that made me cool and funny and sexy, because the only way I could feel sexy was if I was drunk. And that's what it was what I thought. And so to become further into this mentality of being cool and whatever, I started taking prescription drugs, and I started abusing Adderall and Ritalin and other methamphetamine pills. And in this spiral of trying to make people like me, I also found myself in situations where, like, I experienced rape and I experienced sexual assault. And that made me so angry, but I never said anything because I was afraid, because I wanted everyone I was so dedicated to making people like me that I just swallowed it and then assumed responsibility for the actions of other people, because I put myself in those positions. And so then I continued to drink. And then I found myself in a situation where I was in a domestically and verbally abusive relationship. And at the age of 21, thought that I was going to die because he was dragging me by but a very, very, very dangerous situation. And I was in the Czech Republic, and I could have died. And so I took that pain and continued to drink it and stayed with that boy, because I thought that I deserved it. And if he wasn't the one because I was 21, then there was no chance. Eventually I got out of that relationship. I continued to drink, and I did a lot of really hurtful things to a lot of people. When people act out of pain, they don't even know that they're acting out of pain. So I'm not proud of a lot of the things that I've done. And I'm not going to say, like, I don't want to think about I don't live in regret, but I'm not proud of the things that I've done, but I had to learn the hard way, and that all of my actions were from a really deep source of pain. And eventually I found a boyfriend, and I was 26. And I remember thinking this: I'm 26 and this is it, because I'm an old maid after this. So if this doesn't work, nothing will. And I truly stayed with a person for 5 years, and he also was a broken person, and we fought constantly, and we drank heavily, and there are a lot of holes in the walls from my fists, and it was just a chaotic, awful. It was just like my childhood, but in my own life. And I thought, I got to stay here because I'm 26. And I found myself just constantly lost. And in 2016, he was out and he wasn't responding to my messages. And we've been living there for like 2 or 3 years. And I was praying soberly. And I was trying to do sober stints. It was like a new challenge that I was trying to evolve into. And I was praying, there's got to be something drastic that will happen to change my life, because this cannot be it. And I don't know what to do. I didn't have a higher power at the time. I didn't have anything. I was just like, please make something drastic happen. And I asked that because I didn't realize that I had all of the energy, all of the source, all of whatever anybody calls it, all of the power. I had the power to make a choice to change, but I was too attached to what society and conventional wisdom says about women to let myself live the way I really wanted to live. And so I stayed in the situation. And eventually I started seeing a therapist. And 3 sessions into my time with my therapist, I quit blacking out. And I used to black out all of the time, like 1 beer or 2 bottles of wine. It didn't matter. I would black out. And 3 sessions with her, I quit blacking out, and I started on this self-help journey. And I stayed with that man, and we bought a house together, and I did all the things that I thought you're supposed to do, you know, like nesting and had a job. And then I'm like, well, money is going to solve all of the problems because money means that I matter. And so I was really wrapped up in like, I'm Taylor with this company, and I'm Taylor and I do this, and I'm Taylor, I'm the fiance of so-and-so. Like all how my value proposition to what I gave other people started extra layers and extra layers. And then the best thing happened. My fiance, 2 days before our wedding, looked at me and said, and there was a lot of other like chaos that was happening. And he said, I can't marry you. And I said, yes, you can, because what will other people think? What will my family think? What will my friends think? What will people think about Taylor, that Taylor couldn't even get a man to marry her, and he's been with her for 5 years? Taylor. I went downstairs and soberly grabbed the sledgehammer and threw it through a wall. That's called rage. That's called rage. I was just like, I was not okay. I was not okay. And I felt like when he said, I can't marry you, he said, I can't marry you because you're not worth it. That's what I heard. That's not the truth. And it wasn't the truth. The reality was he was dealing with his own addiction that I had no idea about. He was living a totally separate life that I had no idea about. And he was finally, for the first time in his adult life, had the willpower and the strength to stand up for himself and say, I'm not lying anymore. And him saying, I'm not lying anymore, gave me the ability to eventually find myself 4 months later in a space in a bunch of strangers, feeling totally naked because all of my labels had been taken away from me. And I, in a group of strangers, I said, I'm Taylor. And I gave no value proposition. It was just like, hi, I'm Taylor. And that was it. And after hi, I'm Taylor happened, the world didn't fall apart. People still talk to me. They were like, oh, tell us about yourself. Like, what are your interests? What do you want to, like, it created a different dynamic of the conversation. And so hi, I'm Taylor was just enough. It was like just the thing I needed. So when I left that group of people and came back to him, the eruption happened again because we were like trying to work things out. And I looked at him and I was like, this is not my life. My life. What will I think about in my life in 60 years? My life will not be driven from fear. It won't be because I told myself that I wasn't worth it because of all the things I've done and because of all the things that have happened to me. My life is going to be better because I deserve it. And I don't know what that means, but I know I'm gonna risk being alone to find out. And so we broke up in December, and it was just like I swear, when you honor yourself and when you listen and say, yes, I am worth it, it's still painful. And it's still like, I'm scared, but I'm going to keep going. It's like the tornado somehow becomes like really fluid waves. And so like you're going through the waves, but it's in a flow. And so like we broke up, we listed the house sold way like a month and a half sooner than it was just like, everything was very fast. And then I booked a one-way ticket to Spain because it was the cheapest ticket I could find. And I left the US and I went on this journey of just like trying to figure out who I am. And I sat by myself for a month. This is pre-quarantine. Sat by myself for a month and just cried. I cried. And I was like, I just really hated myself. And I was really confused and I was really angry. And I felt guilty for feeling angry at my parents, at my ex-boyfriend, at my life, at myself, at God. Like I was mad at everyone. And I let myself feel that anger. And it was like weight lifted. And then I got back in flow and I started just like following my energy and following my callings. And I went to Israel and I worked on a mashav and a pomegranate farm. And that was incredible and life-changing. And then I went to India and I went to yoga teacher training in Rishikesh. And that was also life-changing. And I continued to travel. And then in October, I took a 1 week break from drinking because my stomach hurt because I have IBS and all the other problems that come with lots of body damage over your lifetime. And the 1 week wasn't awful. And I was like, I'm going to try to take another week off. And then I started thinking about like, I haven't actually had a real life experience sober ever as an adult. And if I'm doing all of the things I'm afraid of, if I'm doing everything that terrifies me, because like being a single woman terrified me, traveling alone terrified me, but I needed it. Going to India as a woman alone was scary, and it 100% totally worth it and not that awful. Actually amazing. Same thing with Israel, like working on a farm as a woman, just like all these things that because I, as a woman or whatever my label, like it limited my mental abilities. If I'm going to do all these things that terrify me, then I'm also going to drop that label that I'm the party girl and I have to be drunk all the time. And the only way I can really be myself is drunk. I'm going to drop that for 1 year and see what it's like to exist soberly. And it's insane. It is insane when you've already started serving yourself. And I'm pretty sure this is why I've been able to stay sober. I already started serving myself. I'd already started.
Wow.
So when you are already in a wave of serving yourself, you know how good it is. And so sobriety, I was like, fine, little things were like, I'm very high anxiety. I'm also very high energy, but like my anxiety went away and then my IBS like dissipated and then my acid reflux was gone. And then like I started dating and I got to feel the thrill of dating. And then I got to feel the thrill of persevering through wanting to drink when I'm anxious. And then I got to feel the thrill of having sex soberly for the first time. And that's like a lot of women will like go on a couple dates, have some wine, and then first time sex is with wine, with alcohol. It's totally different when you're sober. It's just like a different experience in general. And then I started traveling soberly. And then I went through quarantine sober, which was amazing. And I think like the most telling part of my sobriety is that I had family drama. I had like pure, chaotic, awful, mean things coming at me from my family, and under like lawsuit threats that came out of totally unfounded lawsuit threats that have nothing to do with me, about my dad's medical care, and my dad is his drinking issues, and my mom, and like all of these things, like attacks. And I had to choose to not have the ball and just to sit in the pain. And pain is awful, but when you have the ability to feel the pain, you have the ability to heal it and then to approach the person that's involved in the pain with a different type of compassion. It's just, I discovered compassion in sobriety, and it's liberating. It's wonderful. And so in this journey, this like self-discovery journey, I realized that like, I know that I'm not the only woman that is attached to labels. I met a woman in India who said, "You're 33." I was 32. "You're 32." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, isn't what you're doing like didn't you miss your mark? Isn't it for like 22-year-olds?" As if you don't, like there's a timeline on when you can serve yourself. And the thing is, how I serve myself isn't the same thing as how she serves herself or whatever. But I later found out that she was like in a miserable marriage. She hated her husband. He wasn't, and she was just like staying in it because she felt obligated to these labels and to these external forces. And I feel like we like, as the global society, I feel like we've missed the mark on, there's no time. It's never too late to show up for yourself.
Exactly.
And so I've been really driven to write and to teach other women through the programs I've created, to teach them how to do it, because it's not like a quick fix. There's no quick fix, but there's something very rewarding about saying, I'm only going to have half a bottle. Like, for example, this is like from one of my clients. I'm only going to have half a bottle of wine today instead of 2 full bottles. I'm just going to see if I can do it just for one night. And then the next morning you wake up and maybe you don't have a hangover, or you feel a little bit less anxious or whatever. And you're like, hell yeah, I just did that. I just showed up for myself in a way that's very small, but very exciting. And then having somebody with you, your teacher, mentor, whomever, friend, whatever, say, hey, how did it go? And then you get to tell them all about it. And then you get to choose the next day, like, I think I'm only going to have 2 small glasses of wine today instead of half of the bottle. Like, it's very small, rewarding things that we can do, that we can celebrate, that can change everything. It can change the
Exactly.
entire scope of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
like,
Awesome. Awesome. My goodness. I mean, you have really talked about so many points that are very, very important. One, you talked about labeling because people are so used to being labeled and labeling themselves because two, they attach their values to things that are not valuable or people because they're looking for a confirmation. Three, they're not serving themselves. And I love the way you said, you've gone through all that, you've gone through drug abuse, you've gone through sexual abuse, you have gone through everything, breakout relationships, and you from the beginning you didn't actually realize who you are. You were kind of finding your value, your identity on people and on all these things, and you didn't realize that you haven't served yourself, you know and just like the last relationship you talked about, these were two people who are having issues in their lives that they didn't deal with, they didn't heal from their issues, from the pain. And so when the guy decided to open his eyes and realize that, no, I can't go into this marriage the way I am because I am a lie, it's not me, she's not marrying me, she's marrying somebody else, an imposter of me. And he had courage, 2 days, it is even 2 days before the wedding is better than on the wedding day, because that one would have torn you completely apart. But
yeah,
the fact later, you kind of began to understand when he said, what you see is not what it is. This is what it is. Then you realize this guy has been, completely torn apart inside. And he
yeah,
just didn't know how to, heal. He thought that in the relationship, going into the marriage, it's going to heal him, but it was just going to worsen things for him,
it would
you
have.
know.
Yeah,
And
and
you have your own baggage, and you're thinking, here is where it has to work because I'm 26. I cannot miss the mark. Otherwise, what will people think?
yeah,
And
you know,
that
oh,
is a
sorry, go ahead.
it's a very, very scary moment. The scary moment of what will people think has robbed a lot of people their own life, because
Yeah.
they never stopped to say, what will I think? What am I thinking?
What will it? And it's interesting if you put it in a future reflective sense, like right now, anybody in your audience can take a minute and think about the last 10 years of their life.
Yes.
What do I think about it? What do I think about it? What do I wish I'd done? Like a lot of people have these moments of, what do I wish I'd done? Oh, I wish I'd done this differently. I wish I'd taken this chance. I wish I would have. And we don't have to do that. We can
Exactly.
we can in our head say, I deeply desire. And the thing is, like, people think that they want money or whatever. That's not what they want. I can't really throw this point here. That's not what they want. It's not the money. It's the endeavor towards the money. It's whatever the money means. It's security. It's status. Well, why do you want status? Well, because you don't feel like you're good enough in yourself. Oh, man, like, let's go into that. Let's make you feel secure in yourself. Let's let you find some stability. And then when you start looking at the qualities that you want, not the things you want, the qualities you want. What kind of person do I want to be like? I want to be strong. I want to be happy. I want to be uplifting. I want to be inspiring. Okay, these are all the qualities I want. What am I doing to do that, to be that person? And then you can start, what would you're in, like, if you're in an argument, I'm on a diet of conflict, and it's actually serving me really well. But if you're like, how would the person I want to be show up in this situation? This is what I tell my clients, and it works. The person I want to be, how would they show up in this situation? And when that person shows up, you are who you want to be. It's just like that one question, and it takes practice. It takes practice to be the person that you want to be all of the time. But those moments of show up, and that's your authentic self. When that happens, like, I can do anything, and you really
Yes.
can.
Yes, yes. And you realize how much strength you are. And, and that's what is important, showing up. Because, and you also have to, you show up and you sit back and feel it. How does it feel to show up for you? Not for other people, for you. How does it feel? And when you can be able to, fall into that space of how I feel good, I feel valuable, I feel worth, I have some, I am me, authentic me. I don't need to please anybody. It's just me and pleasing me. Then you begin to appreciate the little things around you.
Mhm.
And like you say, people think that money is what will define who you are, but it's not money. It is you, yourself, your authenticism that will define you. And when you find that and you show up to that, the rest of the things will just come as a substitute to
Yes.
help you to, move forward and carry that forward. But first, you have to show up. Because when that money show up and you didn't know how to show up yourself, then it will not have any value for you because you will not know how to use it.
Girl.
You
When
know,
you won't
and
be satisfied by it. You'll look at it
exactly.
and think, oh, well, it happened to me. I was in real estate and I was like, oh, I made $15,000. I guess I'll go make $25,000. Like it was so I had no moment of celebration. It was just like, oh, now I got to do more, whatever. And there was no reward. There was no like, good job, Taylor, for doing your first deal. Like, good job for showing up. Good job for doing these things, because it wasn't the money that I wanted. I didn't know that I really just want to help people. That's all I want to do. I just want to help people and make them feel good.
Exactly, exactly. Wow. So we are going to take a short break, a 1 minute break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with our conversation about Taylor and how she is doing the things she's doing. She's a life coach at the same time, which we don't like to use. We like to use the word mentor, because life coaching, nowadays you talk about it, people think that, hey, somebody is coming like a teacher to tell me what to do. That's not what it is. It's a mentorship to walk alongside you. Somebody who has an experience and helps you to walk alongside you so that you can put your value into perspective. So when we come back after this 1 minute break, we will be talking further on how Taylor is helping people do just that.
Your heart is tarnished black and blue. Betrayal is a feeling, not a word anymore. And you won't fall in love again. You've opened up too many times to be let down once more. And you say, I'll build a wall around myself.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the show. Who are you? Today, our guest is Taylor. Taylor is in France this time round, and we've been talking a lot about who she is. She's told us about her journey from her, finding value in other things, in people, trying to, fit in areas that she thought that is what life was all about. And now she has learned how to show up for herself. She's learned how to heal and how to begin to, self-realization about who she is and how she can use that to help a lot of people out there. Because we know that there are so many people who are hurting, so many people who are going through the same thing. We have all, at one point of time, tried to find value on other people, on things, pleasing people, doing things because what will people say has always been the label. And so today we are kind of trying to unveil that label to understand that it's not about what will people say. It is about what will you yourself say. So you kind of ask that question to yourself. What will Leah say in 5 years to come, in 3 years to come? What will Leah think of the past and where she is going, where she is, where she's going? Those are the questions that we are supposed to be asking ourselves in no matter what state we are in, whatever we do. Is it serving you first, because when you serve you first, you begin to appreciate that and the space with it, then you are able to serve other people because you've understood and you felt the joy about it. Then you can give it freely, because we say you can't give what you don't have. I can't say I'll give you love, I love you, when I don't even love myself, because then I don't know what it really means to say I love you.
Yeah.
Words can just come out of our mouths, but do we really mean them deep down? So it is important for us to understand those things that we do. Are they serving us, or are they serving other people? Have you experienced how to serve yourself, how to show up for yourself before you can serve others and show up to their issues, to their needs, to their wants, to whatever things that you will be chasing out there? Because it is important that we allow those things to chase us and not us chasing them.
Whew. That is so good. That is so good. Not chasing them. It's true. It's so true. We find ourselves chasing. We have these ideas.
Exactly.
And they're not even our ideas. Somebody gave us these ideas. And the thing is, and I've been thinking about this a lot, we want, particularly as women, we often find ourselves wanting to be saved. We want someone to rescue us and to give us all the things that we've ever wanted. And we're chasing after that when we don't realize if we just stopped moving and we looked inward and we're like, how can I save myself? Then the person that shows men, we attract whatever we give out. So if we're desperately chasing, we're going to get men that are vultures, who are broken, who feed off of our weaknesses. But if we're strong and we're serving ourselves and we have boundaries and we're like, you don't get to act like that, you don't get to talk to me like that, you're cool and I'm cool, and let's exist but not exist. Then it truly, like, we attract the type of partner that we want. It's not just with men. It's just like we attract the type of partner, and it's not just relationships. It's life experience. It's opportunities. It's whatever. It's the law of attraction. You get what you give. If you're giving off strength, you're gonna get strength. It's also, I just read an article about this. It's Newton's law, and Newton wasn't a spiritual person that I know of. He was a scientist, but I could be wrong. I often am. But his laws are so aligned with any sort of spiritual, esoteric thinking. It's true. All of them are like, if you get what you give, it just is what it is, and you can't fight it.
Yes, exactly. And those are the things that, we kind of have to begin to learn. And that's why actually I wrote even the book about who are you, because, self-realization, self-identification, not like, when you started, you say that you used to introduce yourself. This is Taylor, who works here, who does this, who does this. But who is Taylor in real sense? Who is Taylor? What does Taylor love? What is she? Who is she? Was missing, because Taylor had valued herself on people's opinion, having a good job, earning a lot of money, doing this. And we don't say that, earning money, a lot of money, having all good things is bad.
No.
You have to have a balance of it. Because if you can attract it rather than you being attracted to it, it makes life easier for you, because then you have the balance of wisely using it properly. You're not chasing it, because you don't even get the time to enjoy when you're busy chasing, because you're just chasing one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Whilst when they're chasing, you are receiving. You enjoy as you share. You receive. You enjoy as you share, because you are attracting it to yourself. Why? Because the atmosphere that you are carrying with you in that space is attracting it.
Yeah, it's true. And it's so interesting. Money is such a wild topic that I talk, like, that's the thing that, like, well, I can't do this because I'm worried about money. Well, I want to do this because I want more money. Because, well, how could you not do that because of the money? Like, money is such a conversation. And the thing is, like, if the pandemic has shown us nothing, we all are mortal and we all will die at any second for whatever reason. We don't know what our reason is. we will die. And to limit what we're going to do because of money is such a sad excuse, because this version of ourselves is only this. It's quite finite, and it's also quite short. Like I'm 33. I was just 23 10 years ago, which to me was 10 minutes ago. And before that, I was 13, which was, like, it's just not, time goes by so fast. And what a waste to make an excuse about money. Because the thing is, if what we want, what we truly desire is authentic to ourselves, creative ways to go about it happen. Like, there's not just one way to do it. And we don't have to share what we want with other people either. And that's the thing. Like, we think we have to tell other people so that they can give us their opinion. They're not living our lives. They're not going to be at the end in our brains. It's only going to be us looking back on those moments, and maybe they'll be a part of those moments, but they're not going to be the ones who have to decide, well, yes or well, no, for your own quality of life, because they have their own quality of life and their experiences and their history and their family's history and their ancestral whatever. Like, all of their stuff that has been built into them, either consciously or unconsciously, is theirs. And all the stuff for us individually is ours. And if we can just own our stuff and not take other people into consideration, and I know it's hard, but it's not that selfish. It's just living for yourself. And you don't have to put other people down to lift yourself up, because usually when we lift ourselves up, we're bringing people along with us because we're inspiring them to do the same thing. And it's not, it's just, anyway, to sum it, I don't think that money is a valuable excuse. I think that if we want to do something authentically, we'll be able to find a creative way to do it. And I also think, I could rant, I can soapbox about it for days. All I want is for people to honor themselves. And having been a person who feared what her family would think of her about not having, I've gotten the emails, grow up, be an adult, get a real job, the party's over, you need to come back. You're this, and then like lots of premonitions of like, if you don't do what I say, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen, because they're projecting their fears and their narrative and their life choices onto me. And the reality is, yes, they are 30 years my senior. I respect that. I am not them. I'm not them. I'm going to learn I'm going to learn the way that I learn. I'm going to make my mistakes. And to be quite honest, I'm not proud. Again, I'm not proud of a lot of things I've done in my youth, but in the last 5 years, including my failed engagement, including a lot of pain, I've never been so proud of myself. And I know, and including the way that I approach relationships and everything, every facet of my life, showing up for myself was truly the most liberating thing I've ever done. And I just want everyone to have that. And everyone can have it. It's weird. It's like, you get a car. It's like, I'm Oprah. Like, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car because you already have it inside of you.
Awesome. We have Oko watching from Kenya, and she says, wow, I never thought of it like that, for the relationship that you attract what you give. Because it's a matter of, when you show up, you're not just a dead thing. You're somebody who is coming with some energy. And so what kind of energy are you bringing into this space is what we ought to be asking ourselves. And that is what really, kind of defines ourselves and try to explain, what am I expecting? What am I wanting in this relationship? What am I wanting in this business? What am I wanting in this job? What am I wanting? It's not about what do they want? What will they say? What do you want to achieve? What are you looking for? What are you looking at? Are you doing for you, to satisfy you, to make you feel valuable, to bring some worth to yourself and to the table? Or are you doing because people are watching? Because remember, when you were born, some people, we were born and nobody was watching, and they might have watched because probably they say, oh, we want to see how this child will grow. but you think they're watching because they love you or because they are aspiring that you become something. And so we have to have a balance with our lives, that we understand that it's about you first before you give to the others, because otherwise you will not be able to serve other people correctly. You will have wrong intentions, wrong motives, wrong attitude, wrong strategies, and at the end of the day it fails. And then you think, oh, these people failed me, or this did not happen. But it's because you didn't look at yourself first. You didn't understand who you are and what you really want out of everything that you do. And so it's awesome. It's awesome. I really appreciate your thoughts today. I really appreciate your journey. So Taylor, tell us a moment where you have worked with a client and you felt satisfied that they got what they were looking for.
I felt
As a
satisfied.
mentor. Yeah.
It comes in different ways. So I don't normally take male clients, but I do have one male client. And he came to me with this list. It was a very long list, and it was like very specific. And we were looking at it, and we started just by tracking it. And what I learned when working with him was, like, because some people say, like, I'm motivated by doing this, and they don't even know themselves, so they don't know what motivates them. And I learned what motivated him was having to talk about the things that he did and having to face himself by sharing with me the things he did or didn't do when he showed up for himself. And one of the biggest things was relationships. He just wanted to not even have a partner, but to establish meaningful connections with other people. And there was a person that he met in his town, and I was like, hey, are you going to connect? Are you going to connect with her? You've been talking about her on and off for the past 3 months. Like, this is a really great opportunity. And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And he's really like shrug off about it. And then he came to, and he said, well, telling me about all that. And he was like showing up in all of these ways. And I was really excited for him. And then he said, and I did happen to ask for coffee, and we did have a 5-hour conversation. And it was just like this, yeah. And so for someone who, I mean, a 5-hour conversation for somebody who is like very mild-mannered and also like incredibly timid and all of these things, for them to show up for themselves and allow themselves to have a 5-hour conversation, and it was a meaningful conversation with this person, to make that connection, I was doing backflips. I was truly just like so ecstatic that he was allowing himself to do, and he was so scared. But when he was telling me about it, you know, like when people do things for themselves and they get really excited, their whole face lights up. He was surprised that he did it. And so he's like telling me this, and I'm watching his face, and he's like really lit up and then like really confused that he's talking about himself, that he's the one that did the 5-hour conversation over the coffee with the friend. And it was that tipping point that he needed, because he was building. He was like on his way and he was doing the work, but he was just like not getting it. He was really resistant to doing that one big scary thing. And once he did the big scary thing, he was like, it's go time. Like, I can do anything. I can do anything. And it was just from that one little thing, showing up when you're scared.
Awesome. Awesome. See, even you really felt, yes, this is it. This is what is supposed to be happening in life, you know, like, because, you know, when somebody can, you know, be so, you just bloom when you talk about how you've impacted somebody's life. It's such a satisfactory thing, because you know that you have experienced it yourself, and you know how it feels when you are able to say, I have showed up and I'm here, and I feel it, and that's what it is.
It's so important to me. I have a client in Germany. She lives in Frankfurt, and in her relationship, she kept on really, she questioned everything. There was so much doubt. She had so much doubt about everything about this guy. And we sat down, and the question was like, how is this relationship serving you right now? And she told me, and it was like, it wasn't serving her. It was giving her incredible paranoia, lots of anxiety. She didn't trust him. And then we looked at herself, and the question is like, how do you feel about yourself? And she like doesn't trust herself. And so naturally she doesn't trust another person because she doesn't trust herself. And so we started working on trusting herself. And then the question became, well, now that you trust yourself, where do you want yourself to go? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? And with that person in mind, how are you showing up in your relationship? And so then she started giving herself those scenarios of like, how would the person that I want to be show up in this situation about a parent's relationship and him? And she showed up as the person she would want to be, and she got the result she wanted to get. And so she kept on. And I should have used that example instead. Anyway, there's like all of these moments where people get the opportunity once they figure out it's not you, it's me.
Exactly.
And then once I heal me, then I get to show up. And the thing is, like, sometimes we continue to show up for ourselves and the other people don't react, but then we realize this relationship is not serving me anymore. And I am who I am. And this thing, you get to go, my grandmother said, I don't have to own you to love you. We don't own each other.
Exactly.
And just because we're not partners or whatever, we're not together, just because we're not speaking doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means that like this relationship as it is isn't serving me. So it's got to change. Change is okay.
Yes.
Change is okay.
Change is okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Taylor, for showing up. And thank you for all the great insight that you've shared with us today. I am so grateful that you came to my show this Thursday, and I am looking forward to hear more about you. So tell us how people can get, in contact with you if they're looking for a mentor, they want to get more on to learn more on how they can show up, how they can begin to heal. Somebody will say, oh, I've also gone through the same situation. I'd love to, get in contact with Taylor and maybe learn how she walked that path and help me to walk that path. So how can people get in contact with you?
So I'm very excited. I have two really exciting things. So I have some programs, like some courses. One is called Get What You Want. It's a 6-day course. It's like all of the things I do are intensive, but just like it's a self-guided course. I am in the process of changing it, but whenever anybody buys the course, anytime I update it, they get the update too, for free. And I'm in the process. I'm so excited. On September 13th, I am launching a 12-week group program. There's a cap on it. There's only 15 spots available. There's 12 left. But it's called the BABE Projects, BABE, but acronym. It's called the Badass Bitch Everyday Project, because when you show up for yourself, you're a badass bitch every day. And so you can learn about that project, or just about me, or working with me, or like reading the stuff I write, because I have a lot of stuff on my blog at livingwanderful.com, livingwanderfull.com. Or if you're looking for motivational quotes and inspirational things, I post them all of the time on my Instagram, which is at Living Wonderful. And that's it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for your clients. I'm so happy for the space that you're serving, because I know that they're getting some light, they're getting some good things out there, and I'm just happy for those who will be joining your courses, because I know very well that they will come out shining, they will come out blooming, and they will come out different from the way they came in. And so thank you so much, Taylor, for showing up. Thank you so much for all who have been watching with us, and I hope that you are able to, be inspired, motivated in every way. And we are hoping to see you next week, Thursday, same time. We'll be having our next guest, who is called Ayana Mills Gallo. She is from States as well, and she will be talking to us about different things, publishing book, etc. So looking forward to hosting her next week on Thursday, same time, same place. Thank you very much. And I hope that you will be blessed the rest of your time in France, Taylor. And I hope that as you plan your next journey, everything will work out well as you plan it. And yeah, stay healthy.
Thank you so much. Stay healthy, and thank you for having me. Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.